I've seen you many times. I think that's what caught my eye originally about you is your social media, and I think it was through Emerald Cup. I think you were either edible judge. You had to have
It
been an edible judge.
was,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, yes. So I'm honored to finally have you on here. I feel like it's been long overdue. I know everyone's been just busy, grinding in and out of the space, and it's just really amazing to see all the women kind of craft their own things. And I've seen you do so many different things in the space. So I'm kind of excited to dive into all of that. We're still freshly in the new year. So I'm kind of asking this question as we, jump into the conversations with people in the space. Anything exciting that you have set for your 2026?
Oh boy. Yes, actually. So the year that we finally met in person at the Emerald Cup, where I was an edible judge and I was also on a panel, that year, my friend Chef Wendy Zhang and I went on a road trip. So we finally had the time and we did a road trip from Los Angeles all the way up to Humboldt and stopped and visited weed farms along the way. And what started as just like a fun road trip that we wanted to take to visit our friend Tina at Moonmade Farms turned into a travel food docuseries. So we are focused on editing that right now. We were working on it all 2025, and our goal is like, this is our number one focus right now. So I'm so excited to be this idea sprouted out of our high minds and is turning into a really cool story that covers like this sun-grown regenerative cannabis scene in California through the lens of food and travel in a way that hasn't really been told yet. And so authentically to us and our experience. So it's such a rewarding project to work on it. So our goal is to have it completed and screened this year.
Ooh, Christina, how exciting. Congratulations. That is big. That's huge. And, from the bottom of my heart, I have to say thank you because I do believe that the sun-grown farmers need as much light as possible to be shed on them in the right ways. And I couldn't agree more. The way you're going to do it is probably going to be amazing. And I'm also a big fan of Wendy. So I love everything that you guys are doing. I feel like you guys are a power couple, as they would say out there, but like a duo out there. You're
I know
crushing
everyone
it.
loves like a friend duo.
Yeah, no, it's hard to find that too, and as far as partnership and getting into business with things. So, yeah, tell us, Christina, you're in LA, right? Or
Yes, I'm in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Is that where you do your events? Out of
Yes, most
your
of my events are in Los Angeles. And then usually, and Wendy and I became friends and such good creative partners together because she also lives nearby in my neighborhood. And we realized really having friends who consume cannabis, who understand you and who are on the same, of the same mindset and kind of like on the same path. It's so much more fun and rewarding to do that together because both of us together are able to accomplish so much more than us individually. And it's really great to just have a partner to do that with and also just have fun. Like this docu-series was just where like we just want to go on this road trip. And then it turned into these beautiful stories that we feel so compelled to share. So yeah. We're in Los Angeles and most of our events tend to be in the Northeast LA area.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, I see them. You have amazing turnouts. And I think what stands out to me the most is that you kind of highlight all the different cultures because everyone's kind of doing their own type of events. And I've seen you kind of do things with the Latina and Cannabis organization. I've seen you do things. I want to say, is it Magu?
Mogu Magu. Yeah. So
There you go.
yeah, thank you for noticing the events and the gatherings I host. That was something I really felt called to do. I started actually as a publicist. So my background and my career is in PR and food and restaurants. And I pivoted into cannabis, and I ended up working at Pop and Barkley, which is how I learned all about sun-grown, organic, met the farmers, and just really, because it embodied this lifestyle of like solventless, organic, natural that I had been spending my career doing in the food world. And so in the cannabis scene, I feel like my identity, my calling, like where I have a voice and a point of view that's so aligned is that intersection of where culinary meets cannabis. In food, I spend a lot of time talking about like the farm to table movement, teaching people how to choose better food for themselves, make more conscious decisions. And so what I write about, my content, the things I create, the things that Wendy and I do together, it's all at the intersection of where food meets weed. And how do we make better, healthier choices for ourselves, for our bodies, for our minds? If we're consuming cannabis as medicine, we should know how it's grown and care how it's grown. And even with food, I don't make the most purest choices. I do not go to the farmer's market every week. In my most ideal world, I wish I would, but I don't. And I usually go to Trader Joe's. And are they the best? Probably not, but it's good. And, you know, that's okay. But when I can make, or when I'm able to, or if it's not always affordable, especially in the food world. But the wild thing is, in the weed world, the sun-grown, organic, regenerative is actually more affordable and better for you. And yet it's so unavailable. It drives me crazy. So I just try to use my platform, my voice, my creativity to talk about all of that, to inspire people to be more curious and more conscious about the things that they put into their bodies and know where they come from. So on my Substack, I write a bunch of different things, but one of my favorites is the Inside series. So I take my readers and subscribers on tours of different grows. So far I've been to Inside Pure Beauty. So that's a very sustainable minded indoor hydroponic grow. And then I got to take a tour of Glasshouse Farms, which is the largest grow in the world. Yeah, in the world. And it's big greenhouse, you know, very controversial. And so I got to take people inside to see what that looks like and what that feels like. And then compare that to Moonmade Farms that's up in Humboldt, compare that to Soul Spirit. And then I also got to go inside Maven. So I think it's and I also have a tour inside the Kiva factory too. So you can see how your edibles are made, because I think it's so important to know how things are made.
Absolutely.
Right now, I see people just making their choices based on what the branding and the packaging looks like. And I love a good design, but I really want to challenge people to ask better questions, and for the buyers and the industry to be able to like not just look at like what they think is going to sell, but actually offer like good medicine to people and think about it.
So good. You know, being an autism mom, I could not agree more on all levels. You know, food, I went down a rabbit hole of learning about food. Obviously, nutrition and fitness has always been my background. And then with my kids' autism, that was a whole different deal. And, you know, as you say, you know, being conscious, at the least being conscious of what you're consuming, because we can only get our hands on such good and clean food. But to that point, you know, we do have a lot to unpack in what you said, because I feel like you are doing a lot and you just kind of slide it in there. And I kind of want everyone to know who you are and what you're building here. So let's unpack that a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your background, because I also came across, I don't know what it was, but I think you had shared a little bit about your Chinese background and being privileged to be living here in this life, and, you know, being able to do what you do and create what you create with weed is probably crazy. You know, I'm Filipino and El Salvadorian. So my Filipino side, cool with it. My El Salvadorian Hispanic side, still learning. I will say that. How
Mm-hmm.
so I'm curious to know kind of how you, Christina, grew up and found cannabis, and then kind of what you're building now and how that's all been part
Mm.
of your life. Because I'm pretty sure you probably I don't know. I think you said you went to culinary school, but share everything about
Yeah.
Christina prior to, being an entrepreneur on this journey in the cannabis space.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned you're Filipino and El Salvadorian, and that your intersectionality of identity and culture is so that's it's so American and so wonderful. And I think that that's the part that I love exploring. And Wendy and I explore that together through Mogu Magu. You'd mentioned that earlier. And so Mogu Magu explores the intersectionality of culture. It started off exploring our like Asian heritage and API culture through food and cannabis. And then it's really just become more intersectional, which is why you're seeing us do these collaborations with Latinas in cannabis, because exactly what you just said, like, how does it how did you grow up? I want to just hear, because I think hearing other people's human stories makes us more humanistic, and makes us more caring and thoughtful of each other. But yeah, so I grew up here in California, Southern California. So I'm first generation Chinese American. My parents moved here, I think, during the 70s for college, when um, when like China opened, or the US opened up to Chinese students and people were coming over, and then I was born. So I often say that I'm very much more white sometimes, like very Orange County, than I am Asian. And we last year we hosted this event called Bad Asians for 420, because so many of us grew up feeling like we were bad Asians. Like, I just don't know enough. I'm not really sure of the traditions. I kind of
Word.
speak the language, but not really. And, on one side, you're kind of made to feel shameful about it on both sides. And so navigating that identity is such a unique, like, time. Like, I feel like it's like our age range,
Yeah.
because the diaspora is like, that's the wave of immigration that kind of moved. And so we have these intersectional identities that are so uniquely American, and our solidarity across, like, just wanting to be curious and celebrating other Asian cultures is really unique, because usually in other countries it's very
Yes.
separated and siloed.
Yeah.
And those kinds of conversations are what fascinate me the most. And that's why I host the type of events that I host. That's why Wendy and I host Mogu Magu, because we want to explore these topics. And when I wasn't a big cannabis consumer. Like I didn't really smoke. I wasn't like the pothead high school kid. I tried it. I had friends who were all the stoner
You went
kids
to
in
high
school.
school in LA?
In Orange County. Yeah.
Orange County. Okay. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, so I was friends and I kind of tried it, and I basically smoked a giant bong, got sick, barfed,
Of
and
course.
didn't feel well.
Yeah.
Yeah, now I know, but
Right. Yeah.
16-year-old me didn't know.
I
Um,
know.
so I was really just not into cannabis for most of my like young adult life, and I wasn't introduced to it properly until I worked at I would say until I worked at Pop and Barkley, because I
Oh,
thought I
wow.
knew, but I really didn't know shit. And so that really gave me a wonderful education about it. But yeah, I grew up just kind of a very Chinese American achiever mentality. And then I went to college in Washington, D.C., and studied English and communications, and worked for event management. Like, I did a lot of event management, which is why I love hosting and I love doing gatherings. And I'm just so skilled at it as well, because I spent my early career doing that. And I remember when I was in college, I got a job at a restaurant. I was like a hostess at this hot new restaurant lounge at the waterfront in Georgetown. And that made me fall in love with food. When it was slow, the chefs and the cooks in the kitchen would teach me how to cook. And they would I got introduced to like shrimp and grits. They made all this amazing food. And so I fell in love with the food and restaurant scene. And then I moved back to LA to go to grad school at USC. And then I started working for chefs and restaurants and hospitality brands and doing their public relations and media relations. And that brought me into restaurants and weed and then like on and on. And so I don't know if you remember the last time we kind of had that dip in the economy when the housing market crashed. That was like right fresh out of college, early in my career here in LA. And at that time, there was a big urban farming kind of movement. There was a lot more community gardens. People were interested in making things again and backyard chickens. And so I was always really interested in that. And I learned a lot. I was part of a CSA when CSAs were not popular. No one knew what they were. And we would have community.
What is a CSA?
A CSA is a community. It's an acronym for community supported agriculture. And you basically buy a farm box from a local farmer and you get fresh produce. And now you can do it where it gets delivered weekly. It's more automated and you can do that. Or you can pick up from local. The best thing to do is find like your local farms and see if they have one. Cause like the ones online are convenient, but like, it's just kind of the same as shopping online. So do a little, I don't know exactly the best ones. And like, depending on where you live, there's different ones. But at the time, it was different. And so the CSA that I was a part of, I would go to a physical place to go pick up my box every 2 weeks. And so I would meet people in my community. I would say hello to the local bread maker. I knew his story. He was like this rogue bread maker that got shut down. And because of him, his bread got shut down. He was able to get the California cottage laws passed, which allows for anybody to be able to get a cottage law to make and sell like food products from their home. Before he got busted for baking bread, that wasn't allowed. And so now, because his law got that changed, everybody has ability to make money from home making food. So yeah, I met a lot of people doing that and in chickens and herbalism. And so that has always kind of been an interest. So I feel like the cannabis part just kind of got sprinkled on. And now it's like, oh, I see the full circle of how food is medicine, how cannabis is medicine, how the two are grown together. That's why I love visiting the cannabis farms up in like Sonoma and Mendocino and Humboldt and Trinity. It's just so cool to see what they do. And it's this wonderful, I feel like it's how more food should be grown. And we've become so disconnected to our food sources, to our medicine sources because of convenience, because of technology. And I hope I'm inspired to have a return to that. And so a lot of my work this year and moving forward, I want to teach people how to like make jam, how to, how to gather again. Like I think the world is so hard right now and there's so many shitty things going on. And so I think a lot about what can I do to make things better? You know, what can I actually change? And I find that the thing that gives us the most joy, that makes the most difference is knowing your neighbors, knowing your community members, spending your money in your local community and supporting those businesses. But we've become so individualized, so hyper separated, and everything just arrives at our door that I'm finding joy again, getting back into my community and hosting gatherings and teaching people how to do things and really not. And it's so anti-capitalist. It's actually difficult because everything I want to do doesn't make money, but it brings me so much joy. But it's so wonderful. Like I also started something called Weed Underground with my friend I budtend with at Cornerstone Wellness. And it's basically a meetup group for people who like to home grow and enjoy weed, or anyone who wants to learn. And it's so far, it's just been like word of mouth. We meet people and you're like, oh, you look cool, you grow, or they have questions, or they want to know if we have seeds. And for a lot of people who are first time home growers or any kind of gardener, like any food, any vegetable, weed, anything you want to grow. I'm like, spending tons of money on seeds, if you're like just learning and then everything dying, is really disheartening, So for
Yeah.
anyone who's like a first time grower, I'm like, please don't spend hundreds of dollars on seeds. Here's a handful of free seeds for you so that you don't have to feel guilty killing them. And then once you've learned and you feel more comfortable, now you can spend money getting the seeds that you really want and getting the strains and then like really nerding out. But when you're first learning, like you're just trying to keep a plant alive.
Yes. Yeah. I always tell people start with a succulent, that's a pretty safe thing. And if you can't take care of a succulent, then, maybe then you can move to something else. But I love that. I used to do the same thing out of my house when I used to host events. But I used to love to do the growing part. And I did a whole cloning, and just it was all women at the time because I wanted to hone in on canna moms. And so I think being able to bring that to your community, being that staple for them to even come to, because a lot of times, even for me, the neighbors knew, and I live in a very suburban area. I live in Inland Empire. And I'd open the garage and they'd see 2 tents and they were just curious. And eventually I had them coming over asking for, do you have topicals for my dad? And you just become that person that they can trust, one. And then at the same time, it opens all the doors for that open conversation and educating like people that are not in our space. And I think you do such a good job by, intersecting that the two bridges as far as the kind of curious people who have no idea even what level the industry is at, and it's kind of overwhelming to know like okay, there's drinks, there's gummies, there's topicals, there's flowers, there's pre-rolls. So I love that, and I think you're probably seeing firsthand, being that you work at Cornerstone. Is that also LA area?
Yes, Cornerstone is a dispensary in Eagle Rock in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Yeah, they're an Emerald Cup award-winning best dispensary in SoCal 3 years in a row.
That's right. That's right. Are you guys far from Eagle Rock? That's like Glendale, by Glendale area?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Is there a lot of dispensaries in that area?
Oh my God, there's so many dispensaries. It's so stupid.
Well, I know.
Really upset.
Well, I know like LA is crazy as far as dispensaries goes. Like compared to Inland Empire.
So I have not been at Cornerstone for 18 years, but Cornerstone has been in existence for 18 years. So they've served during the medical days and they've served the community. They've been through a lot. They've advocated for so much. I'm so proud to work there. I'm so happy to be a part of that team. It's just how long they've been there, the quality of their members and the service and the knowledge. I feel honored that I get to share my knowledge there. But they are one of the very few places in Los Angeles that carry organic sun-grown regenerative flower. They've always done that. They've always supported small farms, and they will always continue to do so. So when they started, there was 2 in the neighborhood. And now I think there's 15. Some maybe have closed. So I'm a little around there. But it's not a huge, so like Eagle Rock is kind of around Glendale, Highland Park, like Alhambra, El Sereno, like that kind of area. And so like in that Highland Park area, there's not enough people to serve that many dispensaries. And there's on 1 block alone, I count 4 dispensaries. How can anyone be profitable? It's just, and we listen to our members and they're just running around chasing deals. So everybody's just trying to reduce, like have the cheapest, lowest price. And this was the most interesting thing. So recently I had a conversation with somebody who's very pro cannabis and smokes all the time. They actually opened a tea house and cat lounge here in Los Angeles. And they were saying they enjoy smoking, but they were like, but when they go to the dispensary, they just buy the cheapest pre-roll that's on sale. And she was telling me the brands that she usually gets. And like, she's like, yeah, I like this one. I was like, I don't know you enough. I don't want to tell you, but the consumer doesn't know how to look into that information. The budtenders aren't sharing, and I feel like there's such a missing loop here that
Yeah.
I'm trying very hard to fill, and trying to meet more people who also are aligned with that and feel an opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I think you do. I mean, it speaks to what your work speaks for itself, because it makes all the sense now that you have PR background and a publicist and all of that, because you're so creative with the way you do your content. Because I know, being in the space, I also create content, and a lot of times the riff is that, like, it's just going to get shadow banned, so I don't even bother with it. But there's so many different creative ways, and you're definitely one of the people that stands out to me, because you do it in a way that I want to say is, my mom would consume that, because you're so creative with it.
Oh,
I
thank
don't
you.
know, you intertwine food, but you make it very, like, you're really good about pulling the heartstrings. And I think that's all that matters, is because you want to create that connection. You want to show somebody that is normal, that isn't used to being around the cannabis space. Because, like you said, my brother-in-law, I could tell him all about this brand and check out this terp, and this is from this farm, and he doesn't care. He's just like,
Yeah.
put me that shit, I'll smoke that shit,
Yeah.
be about his day. So I realized that, but it wasn't until I it wasn't really till I became an Emerald Cup judge that I was even aware of sun grown at that level. So yeah, I'm just amazed at everything that they do, and you have been really, really showing up for sun grown farmers in many different ways. I want to say the other way I want to acknowledge is you were recently part of putting together the 12 J's
Yeah.
box. Tell us a little bit
I love
about
that
that.
project.
And
So
then, yeah, let's talk
I
about the farm.
volunteered to help host the 12 J's holiday craft fair parties this year, just because I love the project so much that I really wanted to help support them and, contribute something that I'm good at that I hoped could help make it easier for them. So the 12 J's of Christmas is a gift box set that it created in collaboration with 12 different sun-grown farmers from the Emerald Triangle. So it's 12 different pre-rolls in a box, and then it comes with this like beautiful like printed sheet that tells you about each of the farmers, and you can see their photos. It tells you where they are, it tells you about the strain, and so you get to sample from all of these different ones. And like they sell out so fast this year at Cornerstone. We had to like reorder and reserve them. But so the way the legal cannabis distribution system works is just so silly. Like the amount of effort and that it takes to make that box happen is Herculean. It's so hard. You think it's easy to put 12 joints in a box and just sell it? No, it's not. It's so hard. The logistics of distribution are absurd. And then the fact that
Why?
they made that happen, and you get it to the dispensary, and then in order for a dispensary to like ring it up in metric on the back end to be able to make it available is so much work. Like Cornerstone, and I think maybe like 2 other dispensaries in I think maybe 3 dispensaries total in Los Angeles that carried the 12 J's of Christmas. But people want it. And so they came up with a way to do a distribution system where people could like essentially order a box online and get it. But you can't do that. So because of regulations, excuse me.
No, you're good.
So upset about it. I'm getting hoarse.
I know how that is. That's crazy.
Yeah,
I don't know too much about metrics, so I'm just like,
yeah, it's crazy. So it's like you can't just be like, okay, here, I'm going to pre-order this and then I'm going to get it later. Nope, can't do that. So it's like, okay, you're going to donate to this thing. And that means, and then you're going to get invited to a VIP party where you can, which I love. When you're the first, however many people, you get a gift box. It's like the same thing, but like it had to be worded that way. So it's so confusing and it's infuriating because you have like, in order to be compliant, it has to be done that way. So they basically did 4 different VIP parties in San Francisco, Berkeley, Los Angeles, and San Diego. And so I offered to help produce and then host the Los Angeles event here so that when they arrived, they could be welcomed and not have to worry about anything. And like, I think people don't think about how much work it takes to grow flower, and just becoming friends with a lot of the farmers and seeing how hard they work to make this medicine available for so little money is crazy.
Yes.
But it's
Right.
filled with so much heart. Like that's the medicine I want to consume. But
Yes.
you know, from the timing of harvest, like if you're growing outdoor sun, you're an outdoor sun-grown farmer. Your harvest is around September, October, and then you're curing in November, trying to move things around, and then December things are about to be ready. You're packaging, getting things tested for the new year. And so watching these farmers go so hard from September to December, and then they are driving up and down the state, not flying, driving. And it's a 12-hour drive all the way down to Los Angeles. Yeah. So they work so hard. I was like, I want to be able to host this 12 J's event. So for all the fans of Sungrown, for the farmers, when they arrive, they don't have to think about anything. They get to come, feel welcomed, and feel like they have this party, and for everybody to meet each other and have a reason to like gather and celebrate the holiday. So that was a really cool event out at the Woods in West Hollywood.
Yeah, thankfully I was able to get to that one. It's always a pleasure to be there and to be in our community and see the people in our space and, you know, show up for our sun-grown farmers, because over the years I've gotten a chance to also get to know a lot of the farmers, and their stories alone just always amaze me. And then, you know, I'm sure you've seen it firsthand, their hard work, and it's just so underestimated. They're just not seen. They don't get enough credit. And I live in Inland Empire, San Bernardino County. So I know for a fact there's a lot of education that still needs to be made when it comes to educating our store owners, whether that's the buyers to, you know, learn, you know, have at least 2 or 3 brands. I'd be, you know, you'd be amazed. You go into some of the ones out here and they have none, like not a single one.
Oh, I know, because the people who live in the Inland Empire drive all the way out to Cornerstone.
Okay. Yeah, that makes all the sense.
That, I mean, the fact that people do that is so like, I'm like, wow.
Well, that's good. That means we're making a dent on people learning about sun-grown, because 10 years ago, I probably would have totally been all about indoor all day long. And so it wasn't till I really got around the farmers, Emerald Cup, being a judge, you know, 3 years in a row, you know, getting to know the people behind the things that I've enjoyed all my life, because I've also been in California. So it's really hard to hear some of the things that they're also experiencing. I'm really, really excited to see your docuseries. I recently just had Chia back on, and her episode will be coming, and she has ladybuds, and that, you know, I had to really, really dig for that. So I really hope you guys do a good job, and I'm here to help you guys get the word out, because I think it's going to be amazing that you did that. More light on the farmers up there is definitely what we need, especially as the times are turning in administration and all that. Any thoughts on that, being that you're, you know, you're very much in this space, and you have a business in it, which we want to dive into. Thoughts on that?
Oh, so many. But the one that horrifies me the most. Okay, I saw a line recently that horrifies me. So I recently was reading that who was in the room with he who shall not be named while he was signing like whatever his thing about rescheduling. Okay, and then like, okay, Kim Rivers, Truly Cool, obvious.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they've been lobbying a ton of money, stupid money. So that makes, you know, okay, MSOs, big corporate money. That's what I see. And then the one that bothered me the most, that probably no one else would very few people would even think about was the CEO of Scott's Miracle-Gro. So Scott's Miracle-Gro is maybe one of the worst, most horrible poisoning companies that poison our soil and our earth and contain chemicals that make our bodies sick. And if you go down the full line, I don't have the exact facts in front of me right now because I didn't expect I'd be going down this rabbit hole. But if you go down the line, I mean, it has connections to Monsanto and and so the Scott's Miracle-Gro company has I think it's the parent company or the cannabis line.
I've read that.
Yeah, it's called Hawthorne. And they've been investing a lot of money into cannabis. They are so they are, as a soil nutrient something company, are very involved in cannabis. So the fact that they're sitting, the companies that are big corporate and poisoning our soil and our food are sitting next to the man who is rescheduling cannabis to Schedule 3, which is basically a pharmaceutical company.
Yeah. And they're supposed to be announcing this big new RX thing that they're supposed to have of their own. So to my understanding is it would be like us saying yay to getting weed in a pill form. And
and I hear people, we have conversations with dispensary, they're like, yay, rescheduling, that's good, right? And I was like, well, depends on who you ask. And it's an interesting conversation. And I think, seeing that line as somebody who cares, who's always just cared about food as medicine and not even necessarily organic, it's just being conscious of where are we putting our dollars towards, because look at what is happening. And like, I get it. Fast food is delicious. I eat it sometimes too, but we can't eat it all the time. And we work really hard for our dollars that are even more difficult to come by these days. And where we spend our money matters, and who we spend it with matters. And if we just turn a blind eye to these things and allow them to happen and don't demand and ask for more, then nothing's going to change. It's just going to be the same bullshit circle jerk that's been happening, what we're seeing with people who are in positions of power, who aren't making decisions for people, for medicine. Like at Cornerstone, we also have a compassion program, and that was something that I spoke up about on stage. I got to go up on stage at the Emerald Cup to accept their Best Dispensary Award, and my speech was about, hey, don't forget about your compassion programs. This industry was legalized. It was created. It was justified on the backs and shoulders of people who advocated for it as compassion, as medicine. And now they've been forgotten. Like, I see so much excess in this industry. It's wild. And it's not going to the medical members and the compassion members and the veterans who need it. And they're suffering. I see them driving from so far away to come on the pickup that only has a couple, it's like you're driving from an hour away to maybe get 1/8 and a vape.
Is this because that's like a first time deal that they get? So they're hopping around?
Compassion donation. So the compassion bill allows grants to donate products to go to for low income medical patients. Yeah. And there used to be a lot more donations when I first started at Cornerstone. Like the bags were big. It was worthwhile. Like people would line up and it was just crazy all day. And they're free. Like they don't make
under
money.
SB 34. Is that SB 34?
I don't remember the exact bill off the top of my head because I also took a bunch before this.
We'll put it in the description, but yes, veterans should know.
Yeah, and so it's that. I think it's when I see decisions like big MSO corporate and big pharma and Scott's Miracle-Gro and that, like, and knowing all the information and seeing it, how it fits together. And we haven't even talked about just how it affects people of color. That's a whole other conversation we haven't gotten into. That's another can of worms, but it's just like seeing all of it just, And so I try to figure out how can I use my voice to help shine a light on the things that I see so that we can be more conscious, so that we can make these decisions. Because I think oftentimes I feel powerless or helpless or like, what am I going to do about that? But I can vote with my dollars. I can vote with my actions. I can use my voice.
Yeah. Yeah, at this point, I feel like voting no way. There's no winning. Like, I'm just out completely because there's no winning. Being an autism mom has opened my
Oh,
eyes in many different ways because you
yeah.
want to have some hope in, somebody that has control. And at the end of the day, I realize that it's really up to me. So I'm very interested in the CSA
Mm,
box,
yeah.
doing everything that we can to grow our own produce here in whatever little backyard. You had mentioned
Yeah.
chickens. I think you have chickens, right? I
I
see them
had
on your social.
chickens. Yeah. So there was a
Oh,
moment that we didn't talk about. So my COVID-ish era project was a baking blog because I had backyard chickens and so many eggs. And I was like, what do I do with these eggs? So I had a baking blog about my chickens and the eggs.
I love that. Oh my
And yeah,
goodness.
so that's how that transitioned into fruit and flower and these beautiful cannabis desserts and infused things that I make in edibles. And yeah, my interest in food just naturally led me into edibles, which led me into being an edibles judge and just exploring this. All of this is really me and my ADD exploring my curiosities.
I love
Thanks for
it
coming
because
along for the ride.
you're so aligned with your skills. Like there's nothing that's inauthentic about what you're doing. It's just so you embody it very well. And I
Oh,
love that about you. And you can see how much it you like your face and energy lights up and turns up when you talk about food and what you're doing with
yeah.
Wendy and the love that you have and respect for our sun-grown farmers. So, for me, I think that's a huge win for us. I always say, let's try to be an asset in our space. We're so many different people in our
Mhm.
space, and you have such a big heart to do that. So, before we go too far deep into other conspiracy talks or anything else, let's talk about fruit and flower and what your business is about and what you're doing there, and then we'll kind of wrap it up with a rapid fire from there.
Oh boy.
But yeah, fruit and flower. I see you do a lot of things with food, even your content. Have you always been like into food since you were a younger kid?
I
Like
mean,
baking and stuff? Like I loved,
yes.
I thought I was, yeah, Martha Stewart.
Yes, I've always just loved food and baking. My mom also enjoyed baking a lot, so
Okay.
we would always get to like bake and do little fun projects. And the fun thing about my family is like they love to eat. The topic of any gathering is like, where do we eat? What is the best food? And all conversation around revolves around like trying to one up each other on the best thing they ate when. I mean, yeah, it's always been around food, and I think that's also why I love weed. Like, just being high and eating food is just so delightful. It's one of my favorite
It
things, and just getting
is like
lost in the joy
just
of food and
bliss,
making
pure
food
bliss. Yeah.
and growing food, right? They're like,
Yes.
oh wow, like it's just so
Yeah.
magical. You really become more present in all of it. So, yeah, fruit and flower is a place for those ideas. I've spent my career doing marketing and messaging and communication to promote others, and I get to have this unique time and opportunity in my life where I get to be my own boss. I get to write my Substack. Fruit and Flower Unfurled is my platform to write whatever I want. I think there was a moment where I was trying to I was getting paid as a writer for different magazines and publications. I wrote a piece for Kitchen Toke magazine, for I think Leaf in the Northeast Leaf magazines. I wrote for MedMen's Ember blog when they were really big, and they gave me my start. I write for Beard Bros now, but I was trying to be more journalist. And the cool thing is about my Fruit and Flower Unfurled pages, I get to write whatever I want. I don't have an editor. I don't. I'm not beholden to anybody, and I get to write my truths. So that's been a really fun, freeing platform. So my Substack is weekly. It's every Sunday at 4:20. I send an email out. There's like 2 free ones and then 2 that are locked for subscribers. But I usually try to create value for like the unpaid subscriber or the free subscribers with every post. So
Mhm.
I've been writing it for, I guess, 4 years, I suppose, 5. I've lost track of time, but I'm so proud of it because it's such a massive amount of content and stories I've put out. And my goal with Fruit and Flower and even with Mogu Magu is about, and you said it earlier, it's about creating new stories, creating new narratives that are more approachable and different around cannabis. It's showing cannabis use in different ways. I love seeing the Canna moms share how they're using it and gathering and talking together. I love seeing it's and just breaking the negative stereotypes and what has been seen. And mostly because when I stepped into the cannabis space, I didn't really feel comfortable in it. It was like, like this space doesn't feel like it's for me. I don't really want to, these aren't the kind of gatherings and events that I want to be at. So I just started hosting my own. I want to get high. I want to eat really fucking good food. And I want to go deep and have deep conversations with people that feel really satisfying and really healing. Not everybody wants to do that. They're like, whoa, too much. Just chill out.
You're right. There's crowds. I had to learn that, I grew up loving weed. So you think like, oh yeah, we're all the same. We all love the same things. We all vibe the same way. And so you're absolutely right. There's all different ways to do it, but you do all different kinds. And I love that.
Yeah. And so I really, I try not to define myself anymore, which is kind of difficult because now I'm like, well, who am I? Like, what's my thing? And I don't have to be, creator, writer, artist. I get to express myself in all these cool ways. I love working with different brands to like tease out a campaign or a story and do something that's more intentional. I think that's what I try. Like, that's what I'm about. And I want to try to challenge more people to be more intentional, be more thoughtful about what we're doing and what we're putting out and who we're collaborating with, because what we put out into the world matters.
Yeah, that's so good. I love that perspective. I think it's important we remember that. I think doing the work and making sure it makes sense, the alignment in what you're doing and the messaging. So I think a lot of people need to take that into consideration and take notes from that. And the other thing I have to say is I love that you're, all about Substack, because right now a lot of people are very we're very used to the videos now. A lot of people are used to that, but the writing with AI here, and you being a writer for some time now, what are your thoughts on that? Because I hear, both sides. Yeah, it can help. No, it's not going to make any difference. Gary Vee is all about it as far as like refinement, enhancements, but to think that it's going to, beat somebody that's already got the skills of writing, that would not probably be the smartest approach for us to take. So I'd love to hear your thoughts.
That AI can be a very wonderful tool. I think that it can be helpful to help parse information, gather research, help us automate certain tasks that are repetitive, that can help us gather more data to make better decisions. What I don't agree with AI for is creating art, is for generating ideas. I don't use AI a lot. Honestly, I have moved into a analog slow living stage of my life, and I'm actually like slowly moving more technology out because it's frustrating, and I'm actually so much happier. I'm able to think. I feel so much less anxious having really less phone time, less social media, less news, less outside, and just focusing on people and community. That's been my big focus. And so I find sometimes it's hard to like massage thing in a copy. Like I use AI to maybe like, okay, make something sound better because I'm having a hard time parsing these words, and you're going to help. It just shortens my time. But I don't believe using AI to write a piece, like a full piece, is helpful. I'm pretty sure I don't use AI to write any of my articles. It takes a long time.
No, that's totally good. No, I agree. I have the same perspective on that, and my insights on that is the same as it's just look at it for time efficiency. I think if we can see it as that and not like relying on it, because we don't want to like, I feel like the world, like you said, you're steering away from all of that. And that's so good because I'm listening. I just listened to a podcast where a cognitive doctor was like, we're literally like being dumbified more and
Mhm,
more and
mhm,
more, and
mhm,
AI is the
mhm,
best tool to fucking do that. Excuse
mhm.
my language,
We
because
live in
now we're just like
idiocracy.
talking into things, and
Mhm.
then now they're even saying that you're just gonna shop on there like, "Hey, buy me," whatever. So, I couldn't agree more. I love that you're taking that approach. I feel like I think we're like in the same age. I don't know. I just turned 40 last year, but
43.
oh, okay. But yeah, I feel like we're kind of into the awareness of our energy and the frequency that we're getting in
Mhm,
this world. We're very, very much aware of that. And I see that in you as
mhm,
far as you're like, you know what? I'm gonna consume what I want to consume. And then if all that outside noise, you got to learn how to control it or it's gonna
mhm.
control us.
And yeah,
So
I spent my whole life with that because 'cause I'm a publicist.
yeah,
It was my job to know what was going imagine that my as a publicist, I felt like my job was to know what's going on in the world at all times at any given moment and how it might relate to my clients.
yeah, yeah,
That's nuts, but I did. I
yeah.
consumed all of it. I was very good at it, and learning to let that go and know that like, it's wild, like, as I kinda take a step back, I'm like, "Wow, we do live in the matrix. I see it now.
Right.
I see
We're
it.
not
Fuck,
crazy. Yeah,
fuck."
right. Yeah, I feel
Um,
like too, if you've been exposed to really good sun-grown weed, we're blessed with
yeah.
this extra awareness. Oh,
And then
yeah,
it's like,
you
"Oh,
teach me to
no,
love this.
now I'm the crazy person with the things, but who created that story to make it?" And then you're like, "Oh, damn it. Alright, here we go." So, like, the weird thing
Yes.
is, growing up, I was always felt like I was an early adopter. I was the first one using the new social media tools. I remember telling one of my clients, I was like, "Twitter's gonna change the way we communicate. I
Oh,
guarantee it."
okay.
Like, and I was the first one using, like, the video apps and Instagram, and I see the benefits of these tools, but it's all just taken a really horrible turn,
Yeah.
and, AI, I find is even like, when I get my phones, I was always the one to get the phone with, like, the latest kind of technology, like, I got the one that had, like, the voice to text before that was so, like, just ubiquitous
Right.
on every product. And now I'm feeling this tug of like, I don't want all of this. How do I turn it off?
Yeah.
Honestly, it's all really creating more problems than it's solving, and we just keep throwing more technology to solve more technology problems. And there's definitely Simpson episodes about all of this. Um, and so for the first time in my life, I feel like I am not being an early adopter. I'm being an early like skeptic and rejecter, maybe like I have no doubt that AI will just become a tool that will just fit in seamlessly into our lives, and I do see that it has value, but I think if we allow AI to think for us, if we stop thinking, we stop talking to each other, then that's the problem, and I think maybe that's why I find so much like you're saying how much joy I get from, like, creating food or doing things with Wendy, and yes, there's that, but honestly, the thing that creates the most joy is seeing the impact of how, like, my gatherings, my work can make people feel. Like
Yeah.
at the cookie swap
Oh,
holiday
yeah.
party that I hosted, at a Weed Underground trim party, we hosted, a bunch
It
of
was
people to come and, like, bring the weed that they dried so we could all trim it together, and people who didn't have any could, like, "Here, take mine and keep what you wanna trim." And then we did a tasting party, and people got to see their nugs under a microscope, and it was just
that's so
so
cool.
fun and pure, and it was like, "Alright, everybody just bring a thing." Very
Yeah.
potluck vibes and sharing and, knowledge, skill sharing, meeting people, seeing the friendships that come out of those gatherings is so satisfying. Like, I got a voice note from somebody who works in the industry, and he was like, "You'll never guess, I went to the" he went to the local plant store to buy dirt for his Blue Dream, plant that he's
Oh,
gonna grow,
nice.
and he's like, "And one of the Weed Underground members were there, and we were talking, he got me set up." And it's just so delightful when we get to live in community and we get to know our community and other people. And it's like, we don't have to live in this technology matrix world. It's really helpful for so many things, but we forgot to actually like interact with the human beings we're around. And that's where I'm trying to spend my time. And it feels so antithesis to like where AI is going, but it feels right for me.
That's all that matters. I think you got to go with what feels right with what you're doing. You know yourself best. AI is just going to spit back kind of like what you put into it, is what I think. So I feel the same way. I feel people will either have a love or hate relationship, but ideally us being conscious and aware to not be the actual tool, because that's kind of what the apps make us be, then I think we're ahead of the game. And I think
Don't
the
be a
cannabis
tool to the
space,
tool.
yes, we're the tool for the tool, since they want to track everything we do and all that. And actually, since we're talking about social media, I have this written down because I love your content and I'm also a content creator. I try to find creative ways that basically are organic with my life. Like I don't really think hard. I just use whatever I documented, whether it's me feeding my kid. But there's some sort of, it's very aligned with what I do. And I feel like you do that in the same way. Can we kind of talk about maybe the brighter side of social media, since we're talking about tech, and your creative side of it? Like there's a lot of, discouragement to use social media for brands because of censorship, because of the algorithm. I think there's ways around that, especially when they work with people like yourselves, as far as creative and doing it from like an educational stance, and even through events. Can you kind of talk about your angle with that, and why they should still, consider things like what you're doing as far as social media?
Yeah, I think social media is just a tool. These are all tools for us to communicate with each other. And unfortunately for us, the most primary ones have turned on us. So it makes it really difficult, but it doesn't mean that it's not worth creating, because again, if we have to continue to put the kind of content out there that we want to see, because otherwise it just won't exist and it won't be told. My friend sent me a video recently that was like, do you know how few of us we are doing this? Just try.
Yeah.
And I was like, because I was feeling very defeated as well, because I'm just like, oh my God, why do I put in this effort? And she was like, just try. No one else is doing this. So it's like, okay, yeah, you're right. I just need to try. And so I think it's more about finding a healthy relationship with those tools and social media, and decide how you want to use it. Who is your audience? The part that has become frustrating for me is that everything has become about sales and immediate click through to action and like performance. And the part when I started in public relations is there's so many things you can't measure. It takes time. It takes build. Yes, there are immediate tricks and things, but that's what everyone's exhausted with. They're tired of it. And so if you want to do something meaningful, you want to tell a story, there's a slow buildup in arc. And unfortunately, I think the hardest thing in the cannabis industry is those businesses don't have that time in arc. It moves in quarters or less than that even. And that's what I see happening in the industry. Campaigns and everything moves in quarters. And so it's highly inefficient. And by the time someone starts a campaign or a story, it almost gets cut off, or like a pivot happens before it really has time to like do what it's supposed to do. It's really puzzling. So I'd say don't give up. I think it's, what is your goal? What are you trying to say? What do you want to be about? What are the right tools for that? Like, I'm leaning into Substack because I realize I really just enjoy long form content. I miss reading long form content. And I like how they have the ability to do video as well. So it's a little bit of both. So there's it's like a video and podcast and long form and email. And there's like communities to interact. I love Instagram, but like, oh, it's so hard. But it doesn't mean that it shouldn't be put out there. because
Yeah.
I feel like a friend said to me, it's like, it's not up to you as the artist to decide who sees it. It's up to you to create it and put it out there, and it'll be seen by the correct people when it needs to be seen.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what they're doing now anyways. It's all interest based, I'm noticing like because I'm on this new running journey and sharing that my whole feed's just running, like
I
running
saw
shoes,
that. You crazy. You're
everything.
running your marathon adventures on your early mornings. I'm like, oh, but go you.
Yeah, that's my therapy and that's my thing.
Yeah.
I think, for me, that's what fuels me and excites
Yeah.
me. And again, because of my kids we already have kids and they're up early.
Yeah.
So we're like, you know what?
Yeah.
We're just gonna keep it.
I loved
Keep it
seeing
this.
like your social content and your running and marathons, and you're beaming with joy.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
that I think we need more of that.
Yeah, I agree. I can't agree more. There is a lot of times people ask, like, how come you don't share more of the darker side of postpartum? And for me, I feel like there's enough out there. There's a lot out there that you can consume that will shed light on the darker side of things. It's just not me. It's never been in my nature to be that way. I've always tried to be a light in whatever space I'm in. And so I try to use, the best things and I only show most of the time is my fitness and weed, because those things, fitness, weed, and my family, obviously,
Mhm.
but those things bring me the most joy
Yeah.
and just make me who I am. And so I think as long as we just
Oh,
stick to what feels right and not feel like it's like keeping up with the Joneses with social media is what it's
yeah.
happened. You know what I know
Oh,
I've seen
yeah.
that.
I mean, they're all tricks to get you to pay attention, make money, do this, earn things. Like once I kind of just stopped trying, like it was sort of a gift, honestly, the way that they shut down all these cannabis creators, and like in a way it took away that monetizing ability, because before I was able to like it's like a slots game of, you're like, okay, if I get more views on this video I make more money. So it's up
Yeah.
to trying so hard to fill this endless void of content for a few bucks. Like literally it's like, here you go, few bucks, and it's like not nothing, but it's not a lot,
Right.
and
Right.
so
Because it
when
takes time to make
yeah
those videos.
yeah, so from like a creator perspective, and also I'm like, I'm kind of a creator. I just want to make things and I just put it out there and let it
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
Um, but so many creators are very good at playing the game. I think for me, I'm like, that's not the game I want to play. That's not what I'm
Yeah.
after. I'm not looking for huge views, clicks. I'm trying to share a story
Yeah.
and craft a narrative and show something different, or try to be creative to highlight something. And different, it's a different goal,
Yeah. Yeah.
and having that like monetizing thing be pulled out was such a gift, because now I don't care about that anymore. I'm not
Yeah.
addicted to this wheel of trying to create content for them to make pennies.
Yeah, I think TikTok has really made the younger generation kind of see things in that light. Like they're constantly trying to figure out how to be that next influencer. So, unfortunately, I feel like we grew in the time where technology really started to pick up, and now we're seeing it at a whole different level where
Mhm.
now they're just born into it, especially like for my kids, we try to keep them off iPads. Try. But yeah, things like that. It's like you said, we live in a crazy world. We live in a very fast-paced world. I know you had
Mhm.
said something about like you're less anxious, and I feel the same. I feel like if you really take time to take in less distraction, because we're such in a world full of so
Mhm.
many, like so much noise, um my life or my days feel just so much more fulfilling. Like,
Yeah, like you were saying, like the things that bring
find
you
the
joy,
pleasure.
your fitness, your family, and talking about weed.
Yeah.
And where the things that bring me joy, I realize I'm like, I love being in my garden. I love being in my kitchen, like being able to focus and work on a cooking or baking project and really being present and creative to like craft something in my mind. I feel like in the last couple years, I lost that creativity because I was just so lost. I'm like, okay, go, 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 create more. And I was so busy doing things and lost in social that like I didn't give myself that time and space to just really breathe, think, and create without distraction. Like I would make things and I'd get distracted and mess up because I'm trying to do too much. I'm trying to film, I'm trying to photograph, I'm trying to, I'm trying to be an entire content production studio by myself in my kitchen. And sometimes it's fun and sometimes it's a lot. And other times I'm like, I just want to make a thing. I miss having time to be that person that makes a lot of things and brings them around to my friends and shares baked goods. I haven't been able, like, I feel like that was something I really loved doing that I haven't been doing. So I think it's like AI and social and tools and all that is great. But at the end of the day, like I really look at like where is the most important place that I want to spend my time, my energy, my money, my effort? What kind of impact do I want to make? Who do I want to influence? And who do I want to help and benefit?
Yeah. Yeah. No, so well said. Thank you for sharing that. Well, I really enjoyed our conversation today. We're a little bit past our hour. I learned so much about you. I could probably ask all types of questions. You're doing so much. And I just really do love that you're taking a really healthier, side to things. And I really feel that the cannabis space is really opening the light to how much cannabis and wellness are intertwined. And people are really starting to show that part of themselves. So I appreciate you, putting the events together for our community and also shedding the light on our sun-grown farmers. I think a lot of that still needs to be done in this space. And we want to make sure that we highlight all of the work that you do. So we will make sure that we put all your information in the description. Before we let you go, though, we do have a rapid fire. It's called My 7 Grams. They're just 7 questions that kind of are just lifestyle questions, a little bit of weed, a little bit of just, your favorite things. So before we do that, let's tell the audience where they can connect with you, whether that's on social or through a website.
Best way to find me is, I guess, on Instagram, still a great place, Fruit and Flower, all one word, no spaces, all spelled out. And then my Substack is fruitandflower.substack.com. You can find me on my website, but that's just mostly kind of like a whole standing portfolio page at fruitandflower.co.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. And we'll make sure all of that, again, is in the description. If you guys have any questions for Christina, make sure you guys connect with her on her socials as well. All right. So here we are. Last 7 set of questions for you. Try to make them one word, one sentence answers. First one will be, do you have a morning routine or are you more of a late night grinder?
My morning routine is to wake up late, have some coffee, pet the cats. I go in the garden now. I try really hard to not pick up my phone first thing in the morning.
Yes.
I turned off all the notifications. And I try to go out in the garden, water the plants earlier, check on them, and then like ease into my day. And then I tend to work late too. If left up to my own devices, I'll be up late.
Yeah. No, I love that. Can't go wrong with a slow morning right into the garden. Number 2, gym workout or nature walk?
Oh, nature walk, always. I love going foraging, so I will use it's called iSeek, and you can identify different plants. So I like to go foraging and find like edible things, and that's what inspires a lot of my desserts and cooking. And
I love that. I never even knew what that was until I had Dr. Riley Kirk on here, and I was like, "What is foraging?"
Oh yeah,
so amazed with everything that she
walk
does.
Looking for edible things.
Oh, I have to learn more about that because I have kids and we're always going on trails. That would be perfect.
Yeah, you'd be so surprised how many things are edible and like the native, especially like native California plants. And then I know I know Los Angeles, I don't know other rules, but like there's foraging maps. So if there's like fruits and things that are overhanging onto like sidewalks and public property, it's fair game.
Interesting. I guess I should have known that. They would love that. Yeah, my son loves outdoors. Okay, number 3, flower or edibles for performance? I'm more of like a workout, I should say.
Even though I'm an edibles judge and I really love edibles, I love flour.
Yeah.
Because it's the origin ingredient.
Yeah, me too. I can never go wrong with that. Number 4, biggest misconception about cannabis.
That it's a poison.
Oh, that's so well said. I like that.
Yeah, in Chinese, the word for like consume cannabis, it's like consume cannabis. It's like literally the word for poison.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's interesting. And it originates, there's roots that start from China,
Yeah.
as far as cannabis
Yeah. So
goes.
it's like,
That's crazy.
yeah, like to say that you're like consuming cannabis, like consuming drugs, it's like shido or like sick. Yeah. So it's like inhale or consume poison.
Wow. Yeah,
Even
it's
though the
funny
plant
how
was
the way
documented
they
in yeah, the plant was documented in like the pharmacopoeia of like plants that was like the basis for traditional Chinese medicine, and it was a treatment for like gout and rheumatism and
Mhm.
all of these other things. But then, you know, sometime along the history, it got shifted into consume poison.
It's so crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. Follow the money. Just saying. Just saying, YouTube. Just kidding. Okay. Number 6, is AI stealing jobs or just letting us take naps?
Stealing jobs. Look at the record layoffs.
Kind of
But this
scary.
happens. Like it's hard to cast AI as the villain because AI again is just the tool. It's the people
Yeah.
who are using the tools. In what way? In what way are you using the tool? Yes, it's at the turn of the 19th century when you have industrialization. It was the same thing. Oh, all these factories are going to take away jobs, and then but people will say, "Oh, but people didn't want to work these shitty jobs." True, but now there needs to be a replacement.
Yeah.
If you're going to
Yeah.
introduce this in such a fast and furious way, you have to consider the lives impacted and what that's going to look like and what's the support on the other side.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone had recently answered this question and said they went to like a fast food place and they have those kiosks to where they no longer get served by somebody. You just order the food there. And I guess they didn't want to do that. They wanted to order and speak to somebody. And they're like,
Mhm.
just use the kiosk. And the person was like, you're going to lose your job to that thing, right? And they were just kind of like, oh, whatever. But I think it's interesting how some people see it that are literally in the spots, because like Las Vegas was big about that. Any of the food spots in the hotels, like when I went to MJ Biz, they were all just like kiosks, and I'm like,
Yeah.
nobody's here. Like who do I talk to? I
Yeah.
don't want to live in
I
a
guess
world
here's
like
the thing
that.
is like this is my whole point is like we have the power of agency. If we all collectively be like, I reject this, I don't like this, and I don't want to use it or spend my dollars on it,
Yeah.
then they won't have it because they're only doing it for efficiency and dollars. So it's, human behavior is
Yes.
what drives that.
Yes.
But enough people have to act in this way and care.
Yeah. Yeah. It does take a community, if not bigger. Yes.
And I think when you were saying the person being like, I was totally that person before. And I think why I'm so infuriated is because I'm like, oh my God, I was that person and completely unawake and unaware and not noticing these things. And
Yeah.
like, wow, that feels shitty. And so it's like, okay, how can we wake up more? How do I change my action so that I can do that? We're not perfect. It's really hard. All of this
Yes.
is really hard to disconnect from. But I think giving a shit is the first step.
Yes. I love that. Well said. And
Seeing,
last
recognizing
one.
and seeing the problem and giving a shit.
Yes, caring. Yeah. And then doing like what you said, making the difference in your community, something that's within reach, because that's where it starts. And then, hopefully it just kind of
Mhm.
word of mouth. Let's be old school about it. But
Yeah.
last one. This one's my fun one. If one got leaked, which one would you prefer? Your text messages or your pictures?
You can look at all my pictures. They're already mostly online and cat pictures.
cat and weed, guys.
Yeah,
Cat and
it's like
weed and
cat.
maybe
It's a lot of like plants when I go walking. I'm like, because I'll get really high and I'll be like, ooh, I get
I think
super
we
lost.
all do that. I don't know. My husband's like, "Where are you?" I'm like, "Hold on. There's a really pretty hibiscus here." And I'm just trying to find my angle
Yeah.
and get a really picture of it. And he's like, "I don't even do anything with that picture. I was just wanting to take a
But
picture
it
of the flower."
brings joy, man. So like,
Yeah,
remember like during
you're
the holidays,
absolutely right.
it was pouring rain, and then there's one morning where it was just beautiful and bright after the rain. I went out in the garden and all the little dewdrops all over the
Oh,
flowers
I
and the
love that.
plants. Oh my God. It was like a plant disco, and I was so lost in it. And I took so many beautiful photos. And it's like just getting lost and appreciating that beauty is so needed.
Yeah, and I love that cannabis allows us to really get intentional and present, and I think that's why we're
Mhm.
a lot of people in our space are so just aware of kind of the path that they wanna walk and very, open to knowing who they wanna help and who they want to educate, and like you said, how they want to impact this world, so I thank you so much for sharing your
Aw.
story, your background. I learned so much about you. I've always been in awe of everything you've done. So I really appreciate you spending time with me today.
Aw. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I feel so honored. I know I feel like we kind of met. It's been like quick and back and forth, and
It's
I'm
always a
glad.
high and by. So I was like, at least today I get to sit down and talk to
Yeah.
Christina. And
Aw.
that's the light of my podcast. There's no interview style in true lights of people getting to see two people who truly love this plant, who have been part of, it's been part of my life for some time, but I'm nowhere near what the stigma would say as far as being a lazy stoner, an
Yeah.
unaccomplished person. We're
I
very
feel it
driven.
though. Do you hear your inner voice telling you that you are? Because I do all the time.
That I'm what?
A lazy stoner.
Um, no, I don't think so, but I will say it just brings like what I realize now as a parent is the cannabis has been part of my life because I'm a true believer that God has written my story has already been written. Muktub is the quote. It's in the book Alchemist. That if I didn't have cannabis in my life and didn't make me the person who I was going through all the things that I've gone through as far as adversity and always being the black sheep for being an advocate for this plant, that I wouldn't be as a strong autism mom for my child. And it is fucking crazy to say it, but I feel like it's given me full circle and more of a purpose
Mm,
to really amplify what I believe is true medicine, and this plant has been nothing but that for me. And so,
wow.
hopefully down the road, my son gets to consume this and it helps him in the ways that it's helped me. But I know that's a whole different conversation. So yeah, no, for me, I feel like it that part has really
Mm.
been my thing for cannabis. But
I feel like even though like I know I'm not it, but that we all have the inner voice that kind of tells us things and just wonders. And I still struggle. And I say this openly because I know others feel the same way, where it's like, oh fuck, am I a lazy stoner? What am I doing? Why am I sleeping in until 9 o'clock? Like, I should wake up earlier and be more productive. I'm not doing
yeah,
enough
our world does
anymore.
do that too. Yeah. Yeah.
But I took a moment and I'm like, all right, what's all the stuff I'm working on? And I was like, okay, I'm good. And it's interesting that those exist. And I never thought of myself as lazy or lazy stoner before, but like that stereotype, that story, that narrative pervades so strong that we have to continue to make things that push against that to
Yeah.
so that other people don't hear that in their voices.
Yes, yes, and that's exactly why I continue to say, let's just keep creating what we create that's
Mm,
authentic with us, because I
yeah.
think that's what people really love. And I think it's so easy to consume without it being so, like pushy of their face. Because, the way I would speak to my mom about weed would be completely different than my dad, who's okay with it. So
Uh-huh.
it's like learning the different styles of who you're talking to. And I'm sure you see it all the time being in Cornerstone, me working working in the bank, is that's something I learned a lot, is who you're talking to makes such a world of difference, because everyone has such a different story. Everybody. So yes, thank you so much again for this. I could go in more stories about this and how much weed has really, really just enhanced my lifestyle and has never been any of what the stigma is out there for. And slowly but surely, I think the more creatives get out there, the more people create educational content and, things like your docu-series, we will be a little bit more informed about where to get craft cannabis and why it's important to support our sun-grown farmers. So thank you so much. Any last words before we bounce out of here?
I've said so many words. That was so wonderfully summarized and so well said. Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, guys, we're going to jump out of here. If you guys have any questions, shoot it in the comments. Otherwise, don't forget to subscribe to make sure you get notifications. I'm out.